Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you are doing well. We are back with my favorite video of the week. It is our weekly trade talk, which is where we talk about the most traded in players as of Tuesday that you guys are wanting to bring in and out of your fantasy sides. If you've been enjoying the content on the channel this season, make sure you smash a thumbs up and subscribe. The numbers on these videos in particular have been fantastic this season, and let's keep it up. Moving into round 9 trade targets that we're talking about. What did I say round 8 for? We are moving through the season. We are up to round 9. And as you can see on screen, we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 top transfers. Let's make it 10 there. We've got the top 10 traded in players this week so far. And the first player we're talking about tonight is Hugh Boxall. Somebody we spoke about last week. I think for last week, it had to be very team dependent whether you were able to get the Boxall downgrade into your side. And if you did it, you were very handsomely rewarded with a score of 74. From the first half, he looked brilliant. I think he was at 60-61 at half time. Really, really good eye test. Did fade away, as did the time on ground. But then again, St Kilda were quite on top in this game as well. They didn't use the sub, so I think they might have used their bench as a way of managing the minutes for Hugh Boxall. But again, 16 touches, 6 tackles, 2 frees, 4, and 74 points. I don't think you're going to be complaining about that on debut. I didn't go there because I had other issues to deal with, but I even thought this was probably worst case scenario, and he goes up 57 grand, but at least I get a good look at what he looks like, and you don't get burnt on the other end like I did with the Jed Buslinger being the sub in round or his second game. So for me, Hugh Boxall, if you're looking at a downgrade target, go and get him, as long as he's not the sub on Friday night when they play Carlton. So just keep an eye on that. Option number 2, as you can see on the thumbnail, is Christian Petrarca. I feel like I've spoken a lot about Petrarca over the last month, and I said target, sort of going into that Richmond game. If you haven't got on him at this point, I feel like you probably have missed him. At 964, I think there's another player that I would be targeting other than Christian Petrarca, who's not on this list, so I've got to try and remember to speak about him after. He has looked fantastic. He's gone into the midfield. The time on ground looks great. The disposals are up. The marks are solid, and he's been kicking goals. As you can see, he's kicked, 4 in the last 3, and even before that, he's only gone 1 game this season without a goal. So I think he's going forward enough. He's playing on the ball enough, and if Melbourne want to keep winning games of football, then it's going to be off the boot of Christian Petrarca. Coming off of a 121 against West Coast, did it with 8 tackles. Hawthorn isn't the worst matchup. Brisbane's not great. Sydney, St Kilda, Collingwood and Port to be up and down. Does have the round 15 bye, so we can kind of reevaluate there. 964, he's probably starting to push it from a price perspective though, but I can't talk anyone out of wanting Christian Petrarca. He is a very, very good footballer. At 3.9 thousand transfers in is my boy Maxi Gawn, is in my side, priced at 1.14. It's going to be interesting when we go to the traded out to see who is traded out at the moment, but I can understand why people want to go to Max Gawn. Has really only had the one super bad game, which was against Tristan Sherry, where he had 27 hitouts and 11 disposals. Again, this week he had 35 disposals, 8 marks, and 1 goal, 1. So the last month of owning Max has been brilliant. I'm not going to lie. What I liked was his time on ground was really, really high and didn't come off in the last quarter, which he did against Richmond. So that score against Richmond probably could have been a 150 had he not spent the last 12 minutes on the bench as well. I just think Max is super fit at the moment. Do I expect him to play this kind of time on ground all season? Definitely not. I can understand why people are going to Max, but I think at 1.14, you just got to wait for him to have a poor game and then try and get him back at a price that isn't too bad. People are going to look at his break-even of 70 and go, what the hell, how am I going to get there? All it's going to take is one real bad game and you'll probably get him back around the million mark. That's what I'd be waiting for. I think there's other rucks you'd want to target instead of Max Gawn. But next up on our list, Will Lorenz. 80% time on ground for a 49. He did score really, really well in Supercoach, so that kind of tells you that he must have been using the ball pretty well if he was scoring well in Supercoach, and for it to not translate over to fantasy. Didn't really fill the stat lines out, but I like the 80% time on ground for a first game of the season. 2 marks, 2 tackles. Again, the power just got absolutely blown out in this game, so I'm not surprised. But again, if he's not the sub against the Crows, he's not the worst downgrade option if you need to shave the cash off of a Hugh Boxall, but I would be going to Hugh Boxall if you're looking for a downgrade. Isaac Rankin, really starting to consolidate himself as a top 6 forward, has gone 107, 98, 93, 120, and a 116 before that, 69. So the scoring has been there for Isaac Rankin. The time on ground is getting better and better as well, up in the high 80s into the 90s this week against Carlton. Again, 1 goal 2, 1 goal 1, 2 goals 2. If you start being a little bit more lethal with the conversion, he's going to be putting scores of 115s, consistently. But again, I think he's just too good a player. He's getting amongst the marks. He's playing all over the ground for the Crows, and a fantastic option at 940. So if you need to shave some money off of a Petrarca, he is a good option. I'm not a huge fan of this Port-Collingwood combination, but then once it opens up from West Coast, Sydney, Brisbane, Hawthorn, but where I really like his run is post-bye, goes Richmond, Melbourne, Bulldogs, Suns at Adelaide Oval. Then he gets, a Hawthorn, West Coast, and he gets North Melbourne to finish the year out. Really like Isaac Rankin, and I think he is a top 6 forward for you guys. Harry Sheezel, I don't think I need to talk too much about Shees. We've seen 2 weeks of him in this halfback distributor role. 1 week against Port Adelaide, 1 week against Essendon. The time on ground is now getting up there as well compared to when he was playing mid-forward. The marks this week were there, which is where the score really comes in, plus the tackles against Essendon. I think Brisbane, albeit a hard matchup, is not ideal. For someone like me, I'm probably not going to go Sheezel until his bye, and he's going to be a huge target for me come round 13 in that West Coast match off of a break. Then he goes Fremantle, Carlton, Hawthorn, Bulldogs, Melbourne. That run is just stupidly good. Sydney's a hard matchup, but then he goes Geelong, St Kilda, Giants is tough, and then Richmond and Adelaide. He's going to be a must-have at some point this season, and I can understand why 2,500 people have gone after Harry Sheezel. Harry Hustwaite, probably not an option in AFL fantasy for me because his time is starting to run out. Handball happy in this game as well, so if he managed to get a few more kicks away, that could have been an easy 100 score for him with 8 tackles was brilliant. I think he's more a Supercoach player because he's only priced at 121 in Supercoach compared to 584 in Dream Team. And with Connor Nash coming back, I'm not sure how long McDonald's out for, so I'd be a bit concerned on the job security. And at 584, I'd rather just pay up for long. Finbar, I can understand why people are going there. I don't think he stays in the side long term, even though he's got an awesome moustache. I'm just not sure on him as a long-term downgrade target for us. I would not be going there at all. Bont, I can't talk people out of going with Marcus Bontempelli because it's Marcus Bontempelli. Did have that sub game against the Giants, but has pretty much put up 2 120s in limited game time, kicking goals, going forward, getting disposals, taking marks, tackling. I think he's a definite round 13 target with Hawthorn, St Kilda, Richmond there. I think that's exactly what we want to be doing. Break even of 118. Hopefully he can get around the 1 million mark, and then we can make a Will Ashcroft into a Marcus Bontempelli or an Adam Chera into a Marcus Bontempelli with a little bit of cash there in the bank. I think that's the play rather than getting him now, but he is a fantastic player. Joe Fonte, from all reports that I'm hearing, is someone the Giants wanted in and around the side long term, and apparently Connor Stone may have been the spot filler for him whilst he was getting himself ready. To drop a 70 against the Swans and have 7 marks, he's just gotten right amongst the style that they're playing. My concern with the Joe Fonte is GWS have lost 3 on the bounce. Are they going to keep playing this possession style play out of the back, which is suiting Ash, Whitfield and Fonte? I'm a bit concerned. I wouldn't mind seeing it, but at a break even of 11, there's a world where he ends up pushing 400k this week. And if he does well, then maybe it's an option. If Bias goes poorly, maybe Bias goes down to a Fonte and you keep that rookie on field. But I don't just see a spot for Joe Fonte unless you're going to go like a Xavier Lindsay if there's no other downgrade option next week. So I'm a little bit concerned on where we go from there, but I think we need to watch another week of Joe Fonte. Now, that's the top 10. The The person I was talking about before was a Chad Warner, who's at 861. So you've got Christian Petrarca at 964, and you got Rankin at 940. Chad Warner is considerably cheaper than those two, and there's a reason why he's considerably cheaper. He did have the sub game there against North Melbourne. Since that point, he's gone 86 against Collingwood, tough matchup. 71 against Port, tough matchup. Then has popped a 120 and an 83, again against the Giants in a tough matchup. He now goes Essendon, Carlton, Melbourne, Adelaide, Richmond. I could understand why people were hesitant about going with the Chad Warner. Do I think he's a long-term play? Not overly. I think there's a world where you can go Chad Warner and then you can look to pivot him either into your midfield and get a super premium, or you can bounce it to a Jason Horne-Francis if you don't own Horne-Francis, or you can bounce it to a Nick Martin if he starts to look 100% again. There are options there for what you do with the Chad Warner, or if he pops off and he's the Chad of last year, then you've got a season keeper priced in the high 80s and can lock him away at an F4, F5. So I'm happy to go into Chad Warner this week. The centre bounce numbers are significantly higher than they were in the last few weeks. The time on ground is looking pretty good as well, mid to high 80s, which it has been all season, but the midfield time has been a lot more recently for Chad Warner. So I think this is a time where you can buy into him. Tristan Sherry is the last one I'm going to talk about. Actually, we'll talk about Josh Dacos too, because there's a reason why he's there too. Tristan Sherry, he's the guy to be going to over a Max Gawn. If you're a TDK owner and you don't have Sherry and you want to make a ruck move, that's the move, because the price is 900 for TDK and it's $1 million for Sherry. So you're just trying to have to find 100K. Boxall comes in, Lorenz comes in, or what was his name again? Lewis Hayes is the guy that's potentially going to come in for Ridley. One of those guys come in for somebody and Sherry comes in. If you're making a ruck move, it's Tristan Sherry or it's Rowan Marshall, not Max Gawn. Josh Dacos is the last player we'll talk about. If you're looking for a cheaper defender than Harry Sheezel, he's your man, 26 years old, playing as part of that distributor role. We've seen enough of him with Houston where the ceiling's not capped. He's gone back-to-back hundreds for the first time this season. The marks are there. The disposals are there. He's going to be in and around the ball. He's playing at Optus. Then he gets to Crows. Then he gets North. Then he gets Hawthorn. Then he gets Melbourne. Then he gets St Kilda. Then he gets West Coast. Then he gets Carlton. Then he gets Gold Coast. The run for Collingwood is actually really, really good until Brisbane pretty much in round 21. I would be backing in the Pies boys, Josh and Nick Dacos, Ned Long. I think they're going to be okay long term. They're obviously not going to win every single game, but they should score well. So that is the main trading targets. Lewis Hayes is there in case he gets named. I think he's a 230 defender. He is a 230 defender that has been popping off in the VFL. So definitely someone to keep an eye on, somebody that I will be watching this week. The trade out target, Sam Davidson, 10,500 coaches off of Davidson, and I agree. Time to go. He's losing cash now. Move him on. 625, done his job. Thanks for coming. Move somebody else into F6. Same with Riley Sanders. Off you go. See you later. Not scoring very well. Back-to-back 50s after that 130. Again, really starting to lose cash fast. Cash him in for a Chad Warner, 100K, easy done. Now where it gets interesting. Tom De Koning, 5.9K. The dilemma I have with a Tom De Koning, this is what I'm dealing with this week. Tom De Koning break even of 120. Do I think he scores that against Marshall? No. Is Tom De Koning in my side right now to make cash? Not particularly. Is he in there to contribute and score well? Yes. Has he been doing that lately? No. First 3 games had absolutely popped off and was doing it with disposals. The disposals are down for a Tom De Koning. Do I think that's going to change? I don't know. Do I think I've got bigger issues in my team than an underperforming Tom De Koning? Yes. Do I think Tom De Koning can turn it around? 100%. I think with a Tom De Koning, we bought him at 900K. We didn't buy him to be the R1. I think our perspective of it changed early in the season because of how quickly he popped off. I think you just don't panic with a De Koning, and if you want to get off of him, the buy's the time to do it. My concern with that is he shares his buy with a Tim English and a Tristan Sherry, so there's not an easy option to go to. I just think post round 12, by round 13, we're dealing with St Kilda and Fremantle players, and we've obviously got guys coming back in off the buy. So what the play might be is it might be banking cash going into round 12. It might be a double downgrade week in round 12 to have a war chest of money there, so that in round 13, you can get a Bont, you can get a Butters, you can get somebody from the Bulldogs, you can get a Sam Walsh, and you can then get a Tristan Sherry or a Tim English. into round 13 because Marshall doesn't play. So Marshall's not an option in round 13. So I think you're just going 2 down, 1 up, then 1 down, 2 up in round 13. And it's just getting a Sherry plus a gun midfielder in at that time is what I'd be thinking long term. That's a bit more strategy chat than this week. My play this week is holding Tom De Koning, and I'll show you my team after we've spoken about everybody. Xavier Lindsay, frustrating that he got caught on the cold wing against West Coast, but we're seeing this as a bit of a trend. West Coast isn't the easiest matchup to target for outside midfielders. So I think, 1 mark there compared to 11 against Richmond. I don't think either of those are where things fall for Xavier Lindsay. He probably lands somewhere between 4 and 5 marks, which is what we're seeing a bit more recently. Hawthorn is a better matchup for outside players. I think he'll hit that break even and just keep ticking along nicely, but he definitely is someone that can go. Christian Moraes can go. Sam Lawler can go. Clayton Oliver, I think he can just go anyway. The run's a bit dries up a little bit more for Melbourne now with Hawthorn, Brisbane, Sydney. They're tough matchups. I think cash in on a Clayton Oliver. Murphy Reid can go. Riley Bice, I'd give 1 more week. He gets back to Marvel where he dropped a 125 against North. I don't expect him to have 15 marks against the Bombers, but I still expect him to at least score an 80, which covers the break even for a week. And then he gets Carlton, Melbourne, Adelaide, Richmond, which is a good run. Connor Stone, you might want to keep him for just in case he comes back into the side, or if a Fonte gets injured, or they're just a roulette of players, but he gives good flexibility being forward defender. Jackson Pryor, I don't think he's as good as Zach Reid, but I'd almost want to see how he goes with no Ridley in the side and see what role he plays. Caleb Daniel can definitely go for me. I'm making that move in Supercoach. I don't think with Harry Sheasel back in defence that Caleb Daniel is a top 6 forward, but I don't think it's a priority. Similar to Tom De Koning, I still think rookies off the ground is a bigger priority than moving a Caleb Daniel. That's exactly what I'd be doing this week. But again, round 12 is the perfect opportunity to get off a Caleb Daniel and find that forward. It might be Christian Petrarca by then, who you want to get on long term. And I know you're still going to swap buys anyway, but that round 12 into 13, you're going to be, that round 11 into 12, you're going to be buying someone that's going to buy it at some point anyway. So it just helps you buy structure. So they are the big trade out targets. There's no one else there that I feel like we really need to talk about. My current trade plans as of Tuesday night is Christian Moraes to Hugh Boxall, which funds Hugo Garcia to Chad Warner. I don't particularly want to get rid of Hugo Garcia, but I don't like the options I can get to with a Lindsay. What I'll likely be doing with a Lindsay over the next week or two will be moving a Josh Dacos into my midfield and moving Lindsay to a defender. I want to have a bit of a look at a John Noble. I want to see if Kitty Coleman gets named. There's a few guys in that 800K bracket that I could go to. Going to Warner really drives my funds up as well, which is a little bit frustrating. But I also can't get rid of a Levi Ashcroft with a 44 break even. Garcia's is still 58, and I'm not certain on St Kilda's midfield, and I don't really have any other way of making the Warner move happen. And I want to target that nice run that Sydney are going to go on. So they're my current moves at the moment. Let me know what you are doing in the comments below. There's lots and lots of positive trades that you could be making this week. I would still be prioritising fixing up rookies, although Garcia's not the biggest priority rookie that I've got. It allows me to get somebody on the field that is really solid. So that's my moves. Let me know what you're doing in the comments. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you like the video. Get in the comments. Tell me what your trade plans are or what your trade questions are. And remember, we will have a live stream tomorrow as well. So get all your questions answered tomorrow night ahead of round 9 of the AFL season. And I'll see you in that live stream, or I'll see you in the comments of this video.